Welcome to Hardwood Handicappers with Zach Cohen, right here on VSiN, the Sports Betting Network.
This is Zachary Cohen, VSiN.com senior editor with another episode of Hardwood Handicappers. It is Thursday, January 8th. We are talking to you at 7:35 a.m. Mountain Time, 6:35 a.m. Pacific Time. And JVT doesn't like when I talk about the East Coast hours, so I'll just bring him in now. We have Jonathan Von Tobel on with me, co-host of Money Moves, co-host of Pod to the Futures, wherever you get your podcasts. JVT, how are you doing?
I'm well. Yeah, look, we operate on the best coast. There's no need to cater to the thin-skinned whims of those East Coasters who swear up and down that they don't really care. But then anytime anything not East Coast is mentioned, they freak out because they're totally not really sensitive about these things. But I'm feeling great. You know, anytime I can get a shot in early in the morning on our East Coasters, I'm totally down with it.
Yeah, I teed you up for that one. I know you hate those people back east, and I am one of them. Well, at one point, I was one of them.
You were. You've converted.
Yeah, I did convert. All right, well, we have a lot to talk about today. It is actually going to be, a really fun episode. Not that they always aren't, but this one is, action-packed. Last night, we find out that Trae Young was finally traded from the Atlanta Hawks. He was moved to the Washington Wizards in a deal for C.J. McCollum's expiring contract and Corey Kispert. No picks were exchanged. Do you have any rapid reactions, or I guess it's not rapid anymore, but any thoughts on this deal in terms of either the short term or the long term?
I mean, the non-betting thing would just be I was surprised that there were no picks exchanged, especially from the standpoint of Washington. I mean, you're not going to take on any picks because you're getting that contract at all. In fact, you're going to ship off Kispert as part of it, too. And I know there's like the money involved and whatnot there, but I was surprised at the very least that there wasn't at least some sort of draft compensation coming back for Washington. I guess from a betting standpoint, from like a looking forward standpoint, are we tempted to look at Washington over their win total? I mean, Trae Young is a guy who I think is going to improve them offensively. There's no question he improved Atlanta offensively. It was just it was so bad on defense that it was kind of a net negative. But look, I think Washington very clearly right now, maybe to the detriment of some of their young players like Keyshawn George and others, are going to say, "No, man, like Trae, this is your thing. Like, let's go. This is kind of what we thought we were going to get with Jordan Poole when we got him, but instead we're going to give the ball to you and really just kind of let you do this thing." He's surrounded by some pretty decent wing defenders that might kind of help him out here a little bit. I don't think it's like the worst thing in the world. And so an adjusted win total over for Washington, a team that I think is kind of in that stage right now, similar to like a Brooklyn where, they could benefit from tanking, but for the most part, you want to see if you can start to get this thing towards winning. Maybe asking the Wizards to win a few more games, which they've been doing as of late, I don't think is the craziest thing in the world as you move forward. So that's something that I thought kind of stuck out to me if you can find some more adjusted win totals.
Yeah, so I kind of agree with you, like in that the short term, like, and just in general, I think that Washington got better. I think that Young is different than Poole in that, like, while he has his deficiencies defensively, he is going to make everybody else better offensively. I think that the pick and roll between him and Alex Sarr is going to be really, really special. And I do think that, while guys like Keyshawn George need the ball, I think that there are plenty of opportunities for them still, even as a secondary ball handler or something. I don't think you wanted George running your entire offense, even though he is very talented with the ball in his hands and very skilled. I just think that having a real point guard like Young is going to help everybody on this team develop, especially a guy like Trae Johnson who moves well off the ball, can really shoot. Like, I think this is going to work really well for them in terms of raising their floor offensively and just raising their floor in general. And I do think this is a team that got a lot better. I think that it helps them in the future. But the one thing I'm a little bit nervous about in terms of looking at the adjusted win totals is I believe they're going to be very, very careful with Trae Young's health. I saw that they want to take a look at, the MCL injuries he's, suffered over the last couple of months and just really kind of do a deep dive on his health history, I guess, before giving him the extension that he really wants in Washington. So I'm just kind of wondering if he's going to play a lot the rest of the season. I think there might be, a chance that they do end up tanking and they do pay Young, and then we kind of just see this team next year.
Yeah, so right now, and we should give this to our audience, the adjusted win total for them right now is 22.5. This is over at FanDuel. They're sitting on 10 wins, so can they go 13-33 over the course of their next 46 games? I would say, to your point, if you tell me right now they're just going to let Trae do as much as he can over the course of the next 46, then I would say I think that's an achievable feat for the Washington Wizards, especially with the way the Eastern Conference looks. I mean, it's not exactly daunting when you're looking around the East. There's a lot of beatable teams as we were kind of starting to figure out. Charlotte's starting to beat up on some Eastern Conference team, and we just see it outside of the Oklahoma City Thunder, of course. But we're just starting to see this. So I think it's achievable, but to your point, maybe at the end of the year, they just kind of pull the plug and wait for next year for it to be kind of the push, if you will, to make a little bit of a push for a play-in or anything like that for next season.
Yeah, and I should just say, like that is definitely an achievable number, even if Young doesn't play all the games. But I also want to mention, like, I thought this was a smart move for Washington just overall. I feel like this is a team that was about to have a ton of cap space over the summer. It's not exactly, a free agent destination. So I ain't getting a player that has been, elite offensively in his career, in the prime of his career. I think it makes a lot of sense, especially when, like I said, you're trying to develop some of these younger guys. I think that they've lacked structure there offensively for quite some time. So at least with the Trae Young, team, you know exactly what you're getting. It's going to be pick and roll heavy. He's going to be, kind of generating the offense for everyone. And yeah, this defense might be bad, but Sarr is really, really good defensively. Better than anything that he's had in Atlanta for quite some time. I think that they could build a better kind of defensive infrastructure around Young than Atlanta was able to do. So I think that long term, I'm pretty high on this move for them.
What about the other side of it? What do you make of where Atlanta is going to be now post Trae Young? Their win total is 41.5. For your audience, they're sitting at 18 wins right now. So we're talking about, what is, my math is terrible, 20. Don't tell me. 24 wins. Is that right? 23. Man, it's too early in the morning.
I didn't catch the first number that you gave, so I think it was 23 or 24. But I don't know. I think that I like Trae Young more than the yes. Hawks definitely did. I think that Young is going to be missed in a certain way for them. I just kind of think that Jalen Johnson's been great this year, but I do think that losing like a star guard like that and somebody that has always kind of made his teammates better, whether or not that is the public perception of him or not, I just think it's going to hurt eventually. But I think that might be more when the postseason comes. Like, I wouldn't be surprised if this is a really strong regular season team the rest of the season. So I would not hate an over on the adjusted win total. I mean, you look at their rotation now, it's like pretty loaded. I mean, it's like Alexander Walker, Daniels, Kispert maybe in the starting five over Risache. I don't know what they do with that. But then Johnson, Okongwu, and then you still have McCollum, Porzingis, and Newell off the bench. And it sounds like they might trade for Anthony Davis now. So that is what would be really interesting to me. I don't know what the long-term goal is with a team like that. It's like building OKC, but without having anybody that can score. I just don't really get it, but man, whatever. They're ambitious at least.
I'm with you. So first off, I was correct. My math was a little off. So the adjusted win total, 41.5. So you would need 24 wins. My math was correct. So good. Thank goodness. I'm with you. So that was part of the reason why I wanted to bring it up is with the reports that they're going to go for, I guess, Anthony Davis. It seems like they're just doing like diet first time around where they made a run to the Eastern Conference Finals that they should not have, and they thought like, oh, cool, like we're way better than we thought. Let's try to speed this thing up, and then ultimately landed where they were right now. And I think it's the same thing here where they saw that early run from this group of guys, and they were like, oh, like we're way better than what we thought. Let's try to make this thing now. And it's like, no, like maybe you should let this develop properly, not sacrifice assets. Don't go get Anthony Davis, who's oft injured and you have to pay, and just sit back and see what this season brings and maybe try to find somebody that's going to help you at the guard position as you move forward. But I'd be curious to see, I think from a regular season standpoint, because I'll be curious what the market does if they go and get Anthony Davis. What does the adjusted win total move to if it's in the next couple of days? You know, if this flip happens quickly, is that adjusted win total bumped up to like 43.5 or something like that? And do we just buy this now at over 41.5 at even money, just assuming that they're going to go get Anthony Davis and try to make this push and that the market's going to upgrade them to some extent because of the name value that Anthony Davis brings?
Yeah, like I also should say, like, where I do understand this trade for the Hawks is that they still have that Pelicans pick. Next year's draft is absolutely loaded with guards. Like, you are probably going to get your Trae Young replacement unless you want
AJ Debonsa. Come on.
Yeah, if you want Debonsa, you want Debonsa. I wouldn't.
He's so good, dude.
He's so good, and I wouldn't blame any team for grabbing any of the guys at the top of this draft. I love Peterson. I love Boozer. I love Debonsa. I think it's going to come down to what you need on your roster, and I don't know if this team ends up getting like a Peterson or one of the guards. I do think that you kind of very quickly replaced Young in a very, good way, just an appealing way. But yeah, it's the Davis move that definitely confuses me, at least for the short term.
Who's your comp for Peterson?
I think it's like shorter, more athletic Cade Cunningham.
Okay. All right. I like it because I was watching him the other day, dude. I mean, he is a very multifaceted dude, man.
He's
like
awesome.
he can finish, he can bully. My comparison when I was watching him the other day was I thought like Russell Westbrook with a 3-point shot.
Yeah.
Like because he can, like he's got that really high jump shot where he'll just pull up out of nowhere from mid range and sink it. He can finish at the rim with ease. He's a good 3-point shooter. So anyway, I'm sidetracking because he had a good game the other day. But either way. I think Atlanta's goal should just be move forward, but who knows? Maybe you could push this thing like you said, and all of a sudden you're looking at AD, Peterson, and like a bunch of rangy wings next year, and you're like, oh yeah, like we're on the way to being the best team in the Eastern Conference.
Yeah, it's like I keep faulting them for trading Young, and like I completely get it too. At the same time, it's because they've given that like get out of jail free card in that pick from the Pelicans, which will get them a very, very good player. Even if it doesn't end up being top 3, it's going to get them somebody really good. The guards in this class are like unbelievable. So yeah. By the way, Peterson, like everybody in the world can see how good he is and loves him. Outside of Kansas, those fans have completely turned on him, and they absolutely despise him.
Well, I mean, there was the weird thing. So he gets hurt. I think he gets hurt in the NC State game, and then there's that weird report afterwards, like his family doesn't really want him to play unless he's 100%. Yeah. And so a lot of people thought that just meant, no, I'm done for the year. But he came back, and dude, TCU, he was great. 32 points, 6 rebounds, got to the free throw line 15 times. He's been very, very good. So I don't know why you wouldn't like him. Also, you don't really realize how big he is. Like I didn't realize he was 6'6". He does not really look it when he's out there, but he's a big dude, man. Like I've come more around on him being the first overall pick. Like I think you and I have talked about it in passing in the Harvard Handicappers group chat, and I think you've nailed it in that it is very dependent on who the top team is. I know a lot of people were looking at the Spurs and saying, well, Darren Peterson's going to be great. I don't know. They've got like a lot of ball handlers. I don't know if they really need Darren Peterson, but I do think that if you're talking about just best overall player, even though we're only talking about 6 games, the more I have watched, one of those, by the way, coming against Doug Gottlieb's Green Bay Phoenix, the more I have been really down with who Peterson can be in the NBA. He looks great.
Yeah, that's why I gave you the Cade comp, because I feel like he's a little bit bigger for a guard. I think he kind of plays like a little bit with that like slow pace. He's very explosive when he wants to go, but I do think it's very Cade-like in the way he kind of operates in the half court.
Sure.
All right, well, before we move on, do you have anything else in this trade?
No, I mean, I think it's generally one of those like, all right, cool. Like I get it for both teams. Let's see if they go and get Anthony Davis and don't sacrifice anything if you're Atlanta, and CJ McCollum gets to go compete for a while after sitting out there in Washington. And the only thing that needs to happen is Washington needs to get rid of those disgusting gold uniforms, and everything will be good.
Yeah, it's funny because it's like a huge trade in some ways, but at the same time, it doesn't really impact what we're doing. It's not really a big betting trade. Like I messaged Bill Adie about the newsletter. I was like, I really don't think that there's much to add for this trade. Like it's kind of big. I think people care, but it's not going to make either one of these teams an actual factor at the end of the year.
Dude, so many years ago, I don't think I'm friends, but I have a relationship, and I know Sal Licata out in New York. He did radio for, I think it was WFAN for a while out there. And many years ago when VSiN was having us do like hits here and there, Michelle Musburger was scheduling me to be on Sal Licata's show, but it was like overnights in New York. So I would go in my closet because that was when we still had a young kid. You can understand this life. And I would have to do hits at like 2 a.m. or 1 a.m. out in New York, for this. And anyway, it was the year that the Hawks and Knicks met in that first round. And I got into a heated argument with Sal Licata on New York radio because I was like, I think the Hawks are going to beat them in this series. And he's like, you're an idiot. You don't know what you're talking about. And so they go on to do it. And just the fervor of that series and what Trae Young was, and eventually what he became in like lore for a while, to now just kind of end in a fizzle and get traded to Washington is pretty wild.
That was like when they were doubling Julius Randle, and there wasn't anybody on the Knicks that could do anything else, right? Like
100%. Because Julius Randle, I think that was the year he won most improved player, because he just came around, his shooting all of a sudden exploded, and then it was like, oh wait, like this is all we have. This is probably not going to win a series, and sure enough, it did not win a series.
All right, well, before we get into tonight's games, there's only 4 games, but I have a bunch of picks. I have 3 picks for the 4 games. I'm sure you have a few as well. Is there anything from last night you wanted to talk about? It was actually a sneaky, awesome night of NBA action. There was like multiple game winners between the Quickly one, the Banchero one. Like there were a couple.
A called off game winner.
Yes, there was a called off game winner. Yeah, it was actually an awesome night of hoops. So yeah, I wanted to give you the floor and see if anything you want to talk about from last night.
Yeah, I thought there was a couple. I mean, first off, so the Thunder, I mean, I think you probably have to start there, right? Thunder failed to cover their third straight game. They end up beating the Jazz 129-125. I texted you guys about this last night. I was actually trying to bet the Thunder money line because one spot hung up minus 175 for overtime, and then immediately took it down, realizing their mistake, and hung it back up at minus 250. But the Thunder get by Utah. Pretty quietly solid night for our boy Keontae George again. Yep. Although he had 25 points, 7 rebounds, 11 assists. That was one of those games. I don't know how much you were watching it. Keontae George was definitely getting pissed off throughout that game. And there was a couple of possessions in clutch time where he was just like, you know what, screw it. Like, I'm just putting up a shot. And he would just pull up from 3, like 5 seconds into the shot clock. And it was like, dude, because there was a lot of bad fouls. And, you know, there was one where he got called where he was guarding Shai Gilgeous-Alexander and he had his hand on his hip and Shai just totally dove to the ground and he was really pissed. And on the next possession, he came down and tried to jack up like a 3 and it just didn't work. But, I mean, look, the Thunder, again, they shoot 7 of 38 from beyond the arc, Zach. I think that this is kind of what this team is. They're a very good defensive team. We know what their skills are. We know what Shai is. But, you know, this shooting thing has kind of bothered me going back to last year's postseason. And it's just popping up again here in this rough stretch where they're not a dynamic three-point shooting team. And when you have a player like Shai, I think that does work. But I don't know, man. Like some of these performances where they're just putting up clanker after clanker from beyond the arc, you do wonder what the sustainability is once you get into the postseason with them.
Yeah, I have the same exact concerns as you. I think that this team is a really bad shooting team. I don't think any of it's fluky. Like, I think that there are teams kind of leaving these guys open and saying, all right, just shoot. Like, we don't even care anymore. But it's going to have to get better, the offense. And it's like the type of thing where if they wanted to, they could go out and get anybody they wanted, but they are not going to do it until they lose with this team, I don't think. So I don't know what to make up there because I really think that they should make a move at the deadline. But it's going to be really interesting kind of seeing this team navigate the postseason, whereas last year's team had that really easy kind of road to the finals. It's not going to be like that this year. There are going to be teams that can, execute at a high level, that can defend, that can score. And I don't know. I'm not out on this team. Like, I think that they should be the title favorites. I just don't think that they should be odds on, which I believe they're not anymore, right? I don't know. I think there was a move yesterday.
I got this in front of me. Give me 2 seconds. I'll give it to you.
Yeah, I thought that yesterday I saw that they were no longer. Yeah, they are.
They are odds on to win the conference, but they are not odds on to win the NBA Finals. They are plus 105.
Yeah, that's the first time in a while that we've seen that, and I do think that it makes sense. I think that the other teams can absolutely beat them, especially Denver. I think that Denver's really dangerous. If Jokic comes back, doesn't suffer a setback, that's really the team that I'm looking at.
If you were to make a list of teams that could beat the Oklahoma City Thunder, how many come from the Eastern Conference? Right?
It's like a half. Like I'd say like the Knicks could, but they've been terrible lately too. So it's like I don't know. I mean, it's the 3 in the West for me, and it's like I don't know, unless Orlando gets Franz back and just looks awesome for the final month of the season or something. I don't know. It's not coming from the East right now. Actually, the one that I would say. I still think that there's something if the Celtics get Tatum back and he's like 75% of what he was. Sure. There's something interesting there, although I'd like to see them upgrade the center spot.
Yeah, the reason why I ask is like for them to be minus 155 in the Western Conference, I would disagree with. I mean, if they make it to the finals, then yes, I think they should be, strong favorites over most of those teams that come out. But looking at it, I know a lot of our audience would like balk at on January 8th investing in like a 5-1. But Denver at 5-1 to win the Western Conference, I think, is something worth adding. You talked about Houston, how good they can be. Even San Antonio, who I think is uniquely equipped to beat Oklahoma City with their, it's funny. I think you mentioned this, and I agree with it before the season started. You wondered what San Antonio was going to do with all these ball handlers they had. And against Oklahoma City, it actually kind of works because like they put so much pressure on the ball where you're just like, oh no, like we've got like 3 guards that we can actually throw the ball to and be okay with, and we won't turn the ball over at this insane clip that you're used to forcing teams into. The same thing can be said for Denver. Jokic isn't a ball handler, but he at least takes care of the ball. So I think that I would attack Oklahoma City in the Western Conference, maybe not the final so much, but grabbing Denver at 5-1, grabbing Houston at 8-1, and feeling comfortable with those in my portfolio.
Yeah, by the way, with San Antonio, like it's not just that they have the three guards, it's that like Castle's an all-world defensive player.
Yep.
And I think that Harper's way better defensively than I thought he would be this early. I thought that he would be a good defensive player eventually. He's been really, really solid this year. So like that's one of the things that when I was wrong about San Antonio before the season, when I was really wrong, it was not just the 3-point shooting. It was also like Harper being able to come in and kind of be a bull and just play with Castle or play without him and just kind of continue to bring that intensity at the point of attack.
Yep, absolutely. So I'm really looking forward to it, but I do think that they're a little heavily priced in the West.
Yep. All right, well, let's start talking about tonight's games unless you want to hit on something else. I mean, it was a tough night for Hornets win total over bettors.
Oh, my God.
It just looked like they were going to get that one home. But, yeah, they hopefully will get it back tonight. I mean, that is the first game for this evening.
It's my fault, actually. I typed out Hornets win-o-meter because for our show on Money Moves, we have a Hornets win-o-meter that we're keeping track of the Hornets wins. And I may or may not have, when LaMelo Ball hit that layup to go up by 2, I may have typed into the rundown Hornets win-o-meter. And, and then sure enough. And it's funny because, is it Eric Collins, is that the play-by-play guy? Is that his name? He knew immediately because Quickly got free almost immediately on the inbound, and he was like, "Oh no!"
Yeah,
he knew. Yeah. Yes, he knew. He knew immediately. He was like, "Oh yeah, no, he's wide open."
He's so good. I remember I think Simmons and Lowe did their like league pass rankings, and Simmons was like really high on the Hornets, and Zach Lowe's like, I don't know what you're talking about, but like it's not even just the team is fun. Like Eric Collins is so good at his job. The Raptors guys are also really good at their jobs, but their home duo. But yeah, I love watching the games that he's calling.
Yeah, that was pretty good. So that was a rough one. And then I think just the other in quick passing, because I know we do have to move on. But like you mentioned, the dueling game winners in Brooklyn between the Magic and the Nets. When's the last time you had consecutive go-ahead banked 3-pointers in the final? Was it 10 seconds or whatever it was that eventually settled the game? But that was a lot of fun too. So it was a good night. Hopefully tonight, although there's not that many games, hopefully tonight lives up to it.
I should quickly bring up before we talk about these games. I'm sorry if you've been waiting for the 4 games. We will get to them. I saw, Denny Avdia had another massive game.
Yep.
And he's now continues to push away in most improved player. And it's like, It's a bummer because I really think that George should win. But he's back out there at double digits again. It's just Avdia continues to kind of put up massive, massive numbers. Do you think that it's going to be Denny?
Yeah, no. It's our guy Keontae. Because here's the thing. First off, as we have kind of learned with the National Football League, I do not believe any sort of odds moves when it comes to the awards. I mean, even right now, we've been pushing Rudy Gobert, and Rudy Gobert's plus 350. Rudy Gobert's odds of winning Defensive Player have not improved over the last 3 or 4 days. We as a betting community have just been talking about it so much. People have been betting it that the odds are like, oh man, we got to shorten these things up. The voters, as I like to say, they drop in at the end of the year. Yeah, they're paying attention here and there, but they'll drop in. And if you talk about Denny Avdia, he is having a great year. But the ball knowers, if you will, the media members who actually are watching, the actual improvements to Keontae George's game that aren't statistical, I think, are going to help carry him to winning this award potentially. I mean, the ball handling, all sorts of stuff. He had trouble holding on to it, for crying out loud. He's improved so many different facets of his game that don't translate in the box score that I think there's going to be enough there. I mean, even with Avdia having the strong year, he had multiple media members calling Keontae George the most improved player in the league. And I think there's still something to that.
Yeah, George has actually gotten better. Denny, he's great. But you look at his numbers, he shot 47.6% from the floor, 36.5% from 3 last year. Those are actually both better than where he's at this year. He's 47.1% field goal, 35.9% 3. So he just really has a bigger role within this team. There's nothing actually improved. Even his turnovers are up from 2.7 to 3.8. I mean, he's been playing 5 minutes more per night, but it's just interesting. I don't know how deep people are going to look at it, but I don't think he's actually better. I just think that his usage is expanded. That's fine. That's impressive. Always to scale up is definitely something that matters, but I don't know. I just feel like there's been an actual improvement with the way that Keontae George plays basketball that there has not been for anybody else in the market.
Yeah, I would completely agree. It's not. So I'll go back to that. Oh, actually, it's weird that we're going to invoke this for the second straight year, or for a second time on this podcast. But I'll go back to, again, the year that Julius Randle won Most Improved. At one point, Jeremy Grant was minus 550 that year to win Most Improved Player because he was out in Detroit, and the Pistons were like, you're our only good player. Please just shoot like every shot. And so his scoring and all of his numbers were up, and yet his efficiency was like way down. And that hasn't been the case for Avdia. He's actually improved a little bit on his efficiency, but it's right around where it was last year. Points per 100 shot attempts, 121.6 last year, 123.3 this year, on a usage rate that has gone from 23.8% to 30.4%. So to your point, I mean, they're running nearly a third of their possessions through him, and I think that's really going to help improve his numbers, but it's almost Norm Powell-esque. Remember when Norm Powell had his strong year for the Clippers, and everybody was like, man, this guy should win most improved. It's like, well, no, he's actually just starting games, and he's always been the same guy. I think that people will see that with Deni Avdija when you're talking about voting for this award.
Yep. All right, well, let's get into the games for tonight. It starts with the Pacers taking on the Hornets. The Hornets are 3.5-point favorites. Totals 232.5. This game tips at 7, and I strongly believe that this is a really good chance for Charlotte to get the win that they should have gotten last night, and maybe tick up the Hornets-o-meter or whatever you just called it.
Hornets
win-o-meter. What do you think? Yeah, what do you think about this game?
So it's a bad spot for Charlotte, but their opponent is abysmal. So that's the thing I'm wrestling with here. Third game in 4 nights, second leg of a back-to-back for Charlotte, coming off of, as we just mentioned, the 1-point clutch time loss to Toronto on Wednesday. Having said that, Indiana has lost 13 straight. They've only covered 5 of those. They have failed to cover by 6.6 points per game over this stretch, and their offense has been abysmal, 108.3 points per 100 possessions. It's like two things. What's it called? It's the hydrogen bomb coughing baby thing, right? Like the Hornets are the hydrogen bomb and the Indiana Pacers are the coughing baby. Who's going to win that fight? Like the Hornets are 8-1 against the spread in their last 9. They've covered 5 straight. Their offense has been incredible. How much do you weigh the scheduling spot versus the actual form? And I also do wonder, like, is Brandon Miller going to play? I know he missed yesterday. I know he's not seriously injured. Is he going to be out there? If you tell me that Miller's going to be available, then I would lean toward laying 3.5 here with the Hornets. But this is a negative scheduling spot and one that generally you would look to play against.
Yeah, so it's a really bad spot. I took the Hornets anyway at 3.5.
Yeah.
I do think Miller's going to play because they asked Charles Lee about him yesterday, and he kind of specifically said that we're just trying to weigh what to do with back-to-back. So that kind of makes me think that he will be out there. Like, that seems like they held him out last night for him to play tonight. And I do think that Charlotte, like you said, like the difference between these teams is just so big. I mean, over the last 10 games, Charlotte has a plus 2.4 net rating. Yep. Indiana in that same span, minus 11.5. Like, this spread is just way too small, even if you do kind of think this is a bad spot. I had to end up taking it. You also, if you want to talk about back-to-backs, they're actually 16-6 against the spread when playing back-to-back days under Charles Lee. So they've been pretty good in this spot. Maybe it's because they're such a young team, but I do think that this is a team that'll be hungry to get back in the win column after last night. I don't really think they're going to let it linger.
Dude, like yesterday, can I say really quickly? So Brandon Miller, he usually plays with like that weird shoulder padding or whatever it is on his, his bad shoulder. And then last night on the broadcast, like, yeah, he's not playing today because of an ankle. I'm like, how beat up is this dude? Like, he's going with like the Michael Porter Jr. shoulder pad almost every single night. And yet what kept him out yesterday was a lower body injury. Like, this dude's got to be beat to hell.
I know. And it's like that shoulder injury looked like it was going to cost him the season at one point. And he's just got so much going on, but hopefully he's out there. If he is, I feel really good about that play. If he's not, I still think they can cover 3.5. I mean, I was like way wrong about Indiana as well. Like, this team just hasn't been competitive, and especially on the road. I think they're 1-16 straight up on the road this season, and then also a losing record against the spread. If you're looking to sharpen your edge this NBA season, VSiN Pro is where to start. Get advanced analytics, player prop projections, and expert insights used by serious bettors every day. Try it out for only $9.99 for your first month and see what smart bettors are using to beat the books. Head to vsin.com/subscribe and check out all subscription options. Let's move on now to Heat at Bulls. This game tips at 8 p.m. Eastern. The Heat are 7.5-point favorites. The total is 237.5. Do you have anything in this game?
No, this is one of the few I didn't. I mean, I will say, same thing with Charlotte as Chicago. There's 3 teams that are in the same scheduling spot today. Third game of 4 nights, second leg of a back-to-back for Chicago. Relatively healthy for Miami. So we're going to get Adebayo. We're going to get Tyler Hero again. Jaime Jaquez is questionable, but everybody else should be available and ready to go. We don't know what it's going to look like for Chicago coming off of a back-to-back here today. I kind of balk at looking at Miami as a 5.5-point favorite only because their offense has been so hit or miss. But they've been really good defensively. It's been their consistent side. Chicago has not been great. I kind of understand where the market got to as high as it is. We're up to 7.5 feel like that's got to be the ceiling, though, right? I mean, maybe if Jaime Jaquez plays, you get to 8, but even given the current state of Chicago and how bad their offense has been, this number seems a little high to me for the Miami Heat on the road.
Yeah, and like Chicago's a little Miami-like in that they just kind of always seem to hang around even when you least expect them to, just because Billy Donovan is a really good coach. I don't have anything with the sides or totals in this one. The only play that I have here is Davion Mitchell over 7.5 assists at plus 115. He's just been really, really good when Tyler Hero has played this year. He is averaging 8.9 assists per game in the games he's played with Hero. He's had 9+ and 6 straight with Hero, and I just think this is going to be a really good matchup for him because I do think the pace of this game is going to be outrageous. And he only had 6 assists the last time he played Chicago, but he had 15 potential assists. I feel like if he has another game like that where he's just consistently kind of spotting guys, they'll knock down some shots. And this Bulls team, like, is just really bad defensively. I've talked about it a lot on the pod, but they're the worst team in the entire NBA around the basket, and also pretty weak when defending above the break threes and, you know, the corners, like just everything. So I just kind of think this is a game where that Miami offense, which has been, you know, the talk of the town for a little bit, it's kind of cooled off a little bit, but I do think that they're going to get some really good looks in this game.
Yeah, I'm really curious to watch it because I haven't seen much of Chicago in the last week or two. I have not watched much of where they have been at, and I know guys like Matas Buzelis have been like all over the place in terms of their performance. But I still think it's not enough for me because I don't have a good enough read on it. But this does look high, and the total is actually where I wanted to play this under, but that moved really quickly. Opened 241.5, we're down to 238.5. Missing out on the best of that.
Yeah. Well, I think that the next game is probably the game of the night. Of course, it's the game where I don't have a pick, but it's the Cavaliers at the Timberwolves. The Cavs are getting 2.5 points on the road. Yep. The total is 238.5. The game tips at 8 p.m. Eastern. No Dean Wade, no Max Strus for Cleveland, no Terrence Shannon Jr. for Minnesota. So honestly, pretty healthy for both these teams. I think this is going to be an awesome game, and I leaned Cavaliers, but I'm not taking anything.
Did Max Strus, did his foot break off? There was the report the other day that it's like 4 more weeks. Whatever's going on with them, it's absolutely wild. I'm with you. So this opened up 4 and moved off pretty quickly. I thought 4 was worth grabbing for Cleveland. 6-3 straight up. They're 3-6 against the spread in their last 9 games. So they haven't been covering numbers, but they've been winning some of these games. But their offense is, I mean, both of them actually. They're top 11 in defense. They're top 9 in offense from what we've seen from them in this recent stretch. And I think it coincides with Darius Garland finally starting to get a little bit healthier here. He has been back for a longer stretch than these 9 games, but he's finally starting to get his legs underneath him. His facilitating is great. When him and Donovan Mitchell are on the floor together, they're a completely different team on offense. Offensive rating well into the 120s. I think that this is something where you're probably starting to buy on Cleveland because they're starting to get a little bit healthier here. But I think now that we're looking at like 2.5, it's kind of moved past the best of the number. If this creeps back up to that 4 range, I would probably say it's not going to. But if you can get 4, to me, that's the buy sign on Cleveland here.
Yeah, I missed the boat on the 4 with Cleveland. If I were able to even get 3.5, I'd consider it.
Sure.
I just think this is a really interesting matchup. You just said it. I mean, Garland's just been so much better again. This is starting to look like the Cavaliers team from last year, and I think that in some ways they're going to be improved by the time the end of the year rolls around. And it's one of the few games where I think that, you know, a team has an advantage in the backcourt against Minnesota. I have that written down. Like, as good as Edwards is, he's not as good, you know, offensively as both Garland and Mitchell. And inside, you have Jared Allen and Evan Mobley to kind of bang with Rudy Gobert and take away, you know, the advantage you have there. So I think this is a really good matchup for Cleveland. And the Cavs are actually 9-3 against the spread under Kenny Atkinson as road underdogs. The Timberwolves are weirdly 69-87-5 against the spread as home favorites under Finch. So these teams are both kind of strong in the opposite ways here. And I do think this is a game where Cleveland should be able to keep it close. And the Cavaliers are also really well rested. They haven't played a back-to-back since before Christmas and just have kind of had a night off here, a night off there, you know, for the last 2-3 weeks. So I do think this is a good spot for them.
Yep, completely agree.
Yeah, maybe we'll end up with the friendship play here. I don't know. It's
I feel like our record on those aren't great.
Probably not. They're probably awful. But yeah, I don't. Yeah, if it wasn't 2.5, if it was 3.5, I'd be in. But I'll be keeping an eye on it. I mean, those look like the juiced Cavaliers.
The ultimate friendship play is the Charlotte Hornets win total. I believe all 3 of us are on this. So
yeah, we do all have that. Yep.
That is the ultimate litmus test. And then I even roped in Stormy Bonatoni and her dad. So we need this to get home.
I love that her dad took it too. It's so awesome. All right, final game of the night. It's the Mavericks at the Jazz. Dallas laying 6.5 points here. Totals 240.5, and the game tips at 9 p.m. Eastern. What do you have in this one?
So the thing I was looking at, you're the player prop guru, and this is what I want to throw at you. Brandon Williams' point total is set at 13.5. Brandon Williams has gone over that point total in 5 straight games. They're asking him to do a little bit more here. Had 2 straight games of 20, and at the very least, he scored 14 plus in all of these contests. You've seen his usage rate kind of creep up in the last few games. It's kind of like waxed and waned, gone all over the place here. But about a quarter of their possessions have gone through Williams. This is a Jazz team, as we know. I think we all kind of like the guard situation, but they're not good point of attack defenders. And Williams is kind of like that north-south dude. He'll get to the rim. He's not a good finisher at the rim, but he's a high volume guy within 4 feet of the basket. And the Jazz, while they don't give up a lot of shots at the rim, they do struggle at defending it when you get there. Opponents shooting just over 70%. So being able to match up with some of these guards like Keontae George and others, being able to take advantage of that. I mean, the Mavericks, as we kind of know, are desperate for some sort of guard play, and I think that's why they've been steering into Williams a little bit more. I mean, for crying out loud, the other day, I think their starting lineup again was like Max Christie, PJ Washington, and just, you know what I mean? Like just a bunch of wings and forwards and really nothing in terms of ball handling. And I think you're going to need Williams a little bit more in a game like this. I don't know who's going to play for Utah, but they'll want to play quicker. They can handle the ball. They'll move the ball around. And I think this sets up for a game where Williams, once again, we've seen his volume tick up and his minutes tick up the last couple of games. And I think they're going to start to ask him to do that a little bit more here again. So I thought 13.5 over on his points was worth looking at.
Yeah, I think so too. I mean, I think this is going to be a game where role players have, some really strong numbers because these teams both play extremely fast. Utah's 4th in the NBA in pace. Dallas is 5th. Even they're a defensive minded team. We look at them as, but they play fast. So I think it's going to be up and down. And I could see Williams having a good game. He is questionable, so hopefully he plays. But if he does, I think that he'll end up putting up some decent numbers. I took Najee Marshall over on points again. This is my 5th time taking it this season. I've hit it 3 times out of the 4, and it's actually the highest number I've seen this year so far for him. It's 14.5, and I took it at -113, but he's gone over this number pretty consistently. He's averaging 17.3 points per game in the 7 games he's played without PJ Washington, who's out. So I just kind of think this is a really good matchup for him. Also, like when you look at where Utah struggles, it's kind of in the short mid-range area. That's kind of his spot on the floor. And this is also a team that's absolutely terrible guarding spot-up shooters. So there should be some opportunities for him to knock down some shots, even though he isn't good himself. But similar to Williams, like if they have open looks, like if they take a few of them, they'll knock down 1 or 2, and that'll go a really long way towards putting a dent in a really low point total.
Yep. Yeah, I didn't have too much of a read for the side. I mean, again, we don't know who's going to play for Utah for the most part. It's second leg of back-to-back and whatever it is. So we'll see if they try to rest either Markkanen or George, who played yesterday in an overtime game. But, man, this Utah team, you see the upside, dude. They're pretty solid. That was a good game from yesterday. Although we were texting about this. Cody Williams, some of those guards, especially Williams, not exactly great ball stoppers. That's why hopefully if Williams plays here, he can get take advantage of some of those matchups.
Yeah, the last thing I'll say here is I do have a lean to Dallas because, like, I think that Utah's just going to sit everybody. Like, they played an overtime game last night. I know that they're not, like, as outwardly tanking as they were in the past, but I just don't think that George or Markkanen are going to play, and I think that that's going to make this really hard for them to cover. But the last thing I wanted to mention is that I do think that if you have been listening to this podcast and you jumped on Cooper Flagg to win Rookie of the Year with me, I do think you should take Con Knipple at +700, which is out there at FanDuel now as kind of
to bring this up.
My hedge. Yeah, so I'm going to take that as well. I'm going to put that in my column today. But yeah, I just think that, like, just to be safe, it's the best thing to do because honestly, while it might be trending towards Flagg, like there's no denying that it is Knipple as of today. Like if you were doing this award right now, Con Knipple would be Rookie of the Year over Flagg.
Okay.
So.
I'm not to cut you off, but this is why I was getting irritated the other day because media members do this, and I'm sorry, but like Bontemps and Windhorst are really bad at this. I don't know if you listened to their podcast the other day where I think it was McMahon who brings up Con Knipple as potential Rookie of the Year, and Bontemps immediately shits all over him. He's like, nope, no shot, nope. And then it's like, what? Okay, there you can say that Cooper Flagg is your Rookie of the Year. To act like there is no universe in which Con Knipple has been better than Cooper Flagg is absolutely mind-boggling to me. Yeah. And to act like it's some sort of ridiculous, like some ridiculous thought that you would even consider Con Knipple to win Rookie of the Year is insane because, like you said, at this point right now, I think if the season ended, there's no question that Con Knippel has been playing more consistently and at a higher level than Cooper Flagg. The recent stretch from Cooper Flagg has been great. But to come in as a media member with a vote and immediately shut down any sort of conversation about the award, to me that says you made up your mind before the season started that you were going to vote for him for Rookie of the Year. And that it does a complete disservice to what you're supposed to do as a voter.
Yeah, and even as like a flag guy and somebody that has been telling everybody to take him, like as good as the recent stretch has been, like there were 3 games in there where he was awful. Knippel like never has that dip. Like this guy's averaging 20 points per game. He's already one of the best shooters in the entire NBA. He's kind of impacting winning in a way that like Flag did early in the season. So honestly, if they were voting today, like I would think that like Knippel would be closer to unanimous than anything else. Like I think that he has been the best rookie by far. I don't think it's been close. So I think that that's why I'm definitely in a position where like I want to grab the 700 and just have it either way. But man, like to say that he has no chance is crazy.
Yeah, it's absolutely insane to me. And that's what, like, these awards in general just kind of drive you nuts because there are voters like that. There are voters like that who have just made up it's January and they've made up their minds about who they're going to vote for. And to me, it's absolute insanity. I think it screams that you haven't watched enough of Knippel and what he's done. And, there's this discourse around him right now on social media, and it's true. A lot of people keep just calling him like, Kyle Korver. And it's like, no, you haven't watched his game. He's way more than that. He's way more multifaceted in the way that he can attack, his ability to reset as a shooter, all sorts of different things. He's a very solid player. And I don't think he is like Klay Thompson levels of defense, but he doesn't get lost on defense. Like he'll at least put his body there and stay in front of dudes. So I'm amazed. Now, all of this to be said, I think you're right. If you have Cooper Flagg at whatever short price, it's a 2-man race and it's not even close right now. And I don't think it's going to get close. So you can just lock it in and just sit back, set it and forget it. What was the old cooking thing or whatever it is? The George Foreman grill. But like that to me, I don't know. That just really bothered me listening to that because if I presented blind resumes right now, you'd have no clue who you're looking at.
Yeah, and he's been so good that like honestly the plus 700 is worth a look just in general, but like
yes.
as a hedge, absolutely. And the one player comparison I have for Knippel that I feel like I haven't heard anywhere yet that I do really think there's something to is I think he's kind of like Desmond Bane. I think that like he's just a knockdown 3-point shooter with a little bit more in between game that he's given credit for and like solid enough defensively where he doesn't completely torpedo what you're doing there. So that's kind of the comp that I have had for him, and that's kind of who I see when I watch him.
I saw a great one. It was he's everything Grady Dick was supposed to be, and I was like,
yeah. I saw that one too. It was with the stars for Grady Dick. Yeah, that was tough. The Raptors keep missing on these guards. It's like they're probably killing themselves for that.
It's the curse of Fred VanVleet. You're never going to get a guard.
They should just dump all of the guards that they've missed on for Anthony Davis and just hope that the Mavericks have use for him.
Ochai Agbaji had a really strong offensive rebound to put back last night.
I like Agbaji, and they're trying to give him away for like nothing right now.
Yeah, dude, he's another one of those dudes. What's fun? Sorry, I know we got to get out of here. First off, RJ Barrett looks like wildly cut. I don't know why I just noticed this yesterday, but like he looks super lean and like kind of jacked, and like I was like, maybe he's on something. Who knows? Not like illegally. I'm just talking about like the Ozempic or something like that. Really leaning down. And like Baji's another one of those dudes that when you don't watch him for a while, and then you see him and you're like, oh yeah, like he's like 6'7" and giant and like really stout and I saw him go up for that offensive rebound and putback and I was like, Jesus, this guy's huge.
I wonder if he's going to be like Jeff Green where like he doesn't live up to like what he was supposed to be, but he ends up playing like 20 years in the NBA because he's just always going to be kind of like perfect size for a wing, solid enough shooter and defensively.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, he's got to be a long-time pro. I think he's got the body for it and he'll get a contract, I think, no matter what.
Yeah, the Suns apparently turned down a deal of Nick Richards for Agbaji and a second-round pick, and I was pretty pissed about it. I really want them to make that move.
Oh, yeah, that would have been nice. Although your Suns might be like the Pacific Division winner.
I know. I had that Lakers play, and like I was like, oh, there's no way that they lose it. Now it's like me like not rooting against my own team, and it's like, oh yeah, it's going to be the Suns that end up blowing it.
Lakers stink, dude. The Lakers stink. I watched them yesterday. Like they can't do anything on offense without Luka Doncic, and even then last night he's out there and they could barely get to what did he even get to 100 last night? I can't even remember.
I don't know. The Suns are freaking
91. Yeah, they didn't even get to 100. Yeah, they got 91 points yesterday.
Yeah, like the Suns are like actually legitimately a good basketball team that does kind of like everything right too.
Yep, dude. I'm telling you, we were talking about Mitch and I were talking about division winners the other day. Like I took a little piece of Toronto at 50-1 to win the Atlantic because the Atlantic stinks. I think Boston is fine, but I don't know about this whole entire dynamic of them being like this contender. Like you said, I think it depends on Jason Tatum. But Toronto's only 1.5 games back. You're getting them at like 50-1 to win that division. And then for Phoenix, I mean, you're talking about the Lakers. They're only 2 games up. This Suns team is as dangerous as anybody in that division. The Pacific, you talk about bad divisions. The Pacific stinks. That's gone from one of the most powerful divisions that we've seen in basketball the last few years to holy crap, like this whole division sucks, and it's old, by the way. The Lakers are old, the Clippers are old, the Warriors are old, and now the Suns with like some upward like projecting talent that's kind of youngish. Like, yeah, dude, like I think over the course of 82 games they could come out on top for sure.
I might have to throw something on the Suns now because I have a pretty big play on the Lakers, and I don't want to be mad if the Suns win a division. I should be very happy if that happens.
They're plus 330.
They have Jalen Green coming back, and like given everything that we've seen from Jordan Ott this season, I have no reason not to believe that Green's going to be like awesome for Phoenix. I think he's like one of the best coaches in the NBA, and I think he's going to find a way to make it work. I'll
present it to you like this, and then I'll stop. But should the Suns really have worse odds to win the Pacific than the Warriors? Because right now the market says they do.
That absolutely should not be the case. The Suns are way more reliable night to night.
Correct.
Yep. All right, well, before we recap our best bets, attention any listeners who are new to VSiN, signing up for our free daily newsletter is a great way to catch up. Delivered straight to your inbox every morning, VSiN's newsletter offers picks, data, and strategies for the day's betting menu. Sign up for free now at vsin.com/newsletter and start receiving your free newsletter tomorrow morning. That's vsin.com/newsletter. Stay ahead of the game and bet smarter with VSiN. All right, well, let's get the people out of here. JVT, what are your official best bets for tonight?
For right now, we'll just go with the one. Brandon Williams over 13.5 points tonight. I want to see some injury report stuff for the Hornets. I am tempted by Indiana. I like the spot is getting me, but for now, the official play will be Brandon Williams over 13.5 points.
All right, well, yeah, I took the sucker Charlotte Hornets minus 3.5.
I hope you're right. He just win, man.
Pacers. I know. I just kind of thinking that they've kind of figured it out. But yeah, it definitely is a sucker play. Like, I can acknowledge that right away. But yeah, minus 3.5, minus 110 versus the Pacers. I have Davion Mitchell over 7.5 assists at plus 115 against the Bulls. And then Najee Marshall over 14.5 points at minus 113 versus the Jazz. So a couple of plays we've given you, only 4 games for tonight, but hopefully you left with some more insights. I mean, we talked a lot. We talked about some awards. We talked about Trae Young. But yeah, I'm looking forward to having you on next week. And join me for a Friday edition of Hardwood Handicappers. Good luck with all your bets tonight.